Now let's start with the first overview about the World Wide Web. The World Wide Web, or shortly the web, that's a huge and globally distributed collection of web documents, of information, of data, of services that can be accessed via the internet. One can access such sources in the World Wide Web by means of the HTTP protocol, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and the web has made the internet the most important communication medium of our days. So it's a killer application of the internet. How was it possible that the web has got such an importance? And this was mainly a small piece of software, the web browsers. The web browsers that may be easily that can be easily used by means of a graphical interface. One can move a mouse, one can click, and in this simple way one can access resources in the World Wide Web that are placed very far away on distant server. The web originally was introduced at CERN. CERN, that's a European Organization for Nuclear Research. And the web was introduced by Robert Collier and Tim Berners-Lee. And it was end of '89, early 90s when they came up with the first idea of the web. The information that's contained in the web, this is hypermedia information, hypermedia document, or hypertext documents. And this notion hyper, this points to the very important tool, the linking mechanism, which the documents in the web can be interconnected to each other. So the hyperlinks, these are the main new thing which helps that information that's placed in this server can be immediately connected to information coming from another server, so that they form a network of information. And users can follow these links. They can use these links to navigate from one document to reach another document, and in this way to navigate in a very simple way through the giant network of web documents. So this is the principle of the hyperlinks. There is a document 1, and in the document 1 there is, for example, a notion or a picture that where the author thinks it makes sense to give more explanation about this notion, about this picture. Then he can place a link that points to another document, which typically gives more explanation and more information about what's written here. These hyperlinks there can be a lot of hyperlinks in a document, and the hyperlinks may point to a document, they may point to videos, to images, and other. So a document together with such hyperlinks, this is an hypermedia document. The documents, the web documents themselves are placed on web servers. And these web servers, they may be distributed worldwide. Important is that one can reach such web servers via an internet connection. In order to point such an hyperlink to a new document, the other document needs a unique address. So it's important that each document in the web may be worldwide uniquely identified. And this identification, for this identification, there is a scheme, the Uniform Resource Locator, which help to address documents that are placed around the world. The communication principle that gives access to the web documents is the so-called client-server principle. And the client-server principle works as follows. There is a client, and in the web, the client is the browser. The software on your smartphone, software on your laptop, which allows you to access data, to access information in the World Wide Web. So the web client the browser, that's the active part in this communication, in this client-server communication principle. The client requests a document which is placed on a server. The server is waiting for such requests, and when the server gets the request, it delivers the document or it delivers an error message if the document is not on that place or if the user is not allowed to access the document. For the communication between the browser, the client, and the web server, there is a special internet protocol necessary, and this is the HTTP protocol, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Modern browsers, they offer not only the possibility to access web documents, but they also provide other internet services. For example, FTP or email as web applications, or streaming media and others. The mechanisms and the protocols which are necessary in order to carry out these services remain almost completely hidden from the user. Each of these internet services needs another internet protocol to be accessible over the internet protocol stack. So all this is behind the scenes, so for the user it's very easy to point and click and to order something or to start a service. And this very simple and intuitive, usable user interface, it's a graphical interface. This has made the web so popular. So in the beginning, it was difficult to use such a web client. One needs an IT education, one needs to point in very special commands to request data from the web. But then in '93, with the first graphical user interface, it was possible to access data in the internet on a very simple way, and this was the starting point that has made the web the killer application of the internet.